All right, guys, I got to add an introduction to this podcast because I have to explain the low energy, weird vibes on this podcast. Once I found out what happened, I thought about doing this podcast again, but I'm way too lazy for that. So I don't know if I said anything I regret on this recent podcast, but I'll just sort of explain what happened. Like I said at the start of this podcast, 12 countries in 12 weeks. Obviously, you're going to be feeling some type of way. You're going to be jet lagged. I've been taking a lot of Xanax and Adderall to force time adjust, obviously overindulging a bit. So when I got back, so right now, today is Thursday, right? Yep. Today's Thursday. We filmed the podcast on Wednesday. I arrived back from Abu Dhabi Tuesday night. So I had a pretty good night's sleep Tuesday night, woke up Wednesday, and early in the morning Wednesday, I felt incredible. Sometimes you come back, you don't sleep well. Sometimes I wake up at 2 a.m., woke up at 5 a.m. I felt incredible, felt ready to rumble. Popped an Adderall, drank a coffee, made a coffee at home, right? We have like a lot of bad allergies in Texas. They call it like cedar fever, right? And someone told me some shit, it probably bullshit, so don't take this as fact, but if you have a little bit of the local honey, it can ease some of the effects of the cedar fever. So I'm at home making a coffee. I'll put some honey in this coffee. I take the coffee. Coffee, obviously, I'm pretty addicted to coffee, probably 3 coffees a day or something, usually 2 to start the day, 2 double shots to start the day in the morning, and an Adderall, modafinil, whatever I can get in me to get going. And I start the day. By the time I get to training, I'm starting to feel more tired than usual, but of course think nothing of it. I think, oh yeah, well, obviously massive flight, massive stress of the Volkanovski fight, everything surrounding that. And I say, I'll just punish myself at training to try to bring it out of me. So I decided to do 15 minutes straight, fresh opponent every 3 minutes with Nicky Ryan and JB. And I was like, I'll start with JB. Nicky Ryan's a little bit of a tougher round for me, so I'll at least warm up with JB before I go with Nicky. And then I felt bad that Nicky would only get to beat me up twice, so I ended up just doing 18 minutes straight. Had to dig deep during that. Usually I have a blowout after traveling. I feel better. Same as if I'm hungover or something. The second I get that first sweat out, I start to feel better. You start to feel positive vibes and stuff. But unfortunately, I finished training and I felt really tired. Obviously, I beat the fuck out of both of those little bastards, but it didn't make me feel good. And when the physically harming my friends doesn't bring me happiness, I start to worry, could there be something really wrong with me? So we finished that session, have a quick bite to eat, and we filmed the podcast, and I'm feeling just down and tired during the podcast, feeling real weird. Don't know what's going on. I'm chalking it up to jet lag, or again, Volk's losing was quite a sad moment. Like it's hard to watch that happen to your friends. You know what I mean? He'll be okay. He'll be back in there fighting again, but it is hard to watch. So I don't know if I was like depressed or what the fuck was going on. I skipped the lunchtime training session. I even saw all the guys at the gym who I haven't seen for a while. I looked at them. I was like, fuck these guys. I'm out. I'm going home. Ended up going to watch Killers of the Flower Moon, which was like watching 2 Titanics back to back. But watched that, went home, went to bed, woke up the next day, felt a bit better the next day. So I'm going through my routine again, having another coffee, and I realized that the honey I was putting in my coffee was THC honey. So I was like, holy shit, that explains everything yesterday. And yesterday I was like, I wanted a sweet coffee. So I just was pouring this honey into the coffee yesterday. And it was a very, very strange experience. I didn't know what was going on, but it's definitely a mix of anxiety, panic attack. But I kept just chalking it up to jet lag or obviously emotions around the fight, you know. But yeah, here's a quick explanation of why this podcast might seem a bit weird, a bit low energy, a bit all over the place, scattered. I couldn't even think straight. I probably forgot a lot of details of stories. But I usually smoke some weed before bed, maybe a joint, just a little bit. Nothing crazy. Nothing like Freddie used to start his days smoking weed, and he stopped doing that. And I remember when he stopped smoking weed, I thought to myself, fuck, this guy's really going to get his shit together. He's going to be on the ball. He's going to make deadlines, going to get up early. None of those things happened. So, of course, it wasn't the weed. But, yeah, in retrospect, if you're waking and baking or taking edibles in the morning, how the fuck do you get anything done, hey? Obviously, I had a few substances at play here. The Adderall, caffeine bringing me up. Massive hit of THC bringing me back down. So, obviously, a few things at play here. But my hat's off to you, anyone that can eat a lot of edibles, and still have a productive day. Again, me personally, I like just smoking it because if I smoke too much, I come back to life pretty quick. With those edibles, though, they rock you for a while, you know? So it's like, it's very hard for me to control that. And another problem I have is people always ask me about drugs like weed or psychedelics, or how hard do I get into them? And I'm like, I don't want any introspection. I don't want to be thinking about who I am as a person. Am I a good person? I don't want any of those feelings. I only take drugs that get me out of myself. So when you give me a big edible or something like that, I'm thinking about deep feelings inside. That's going to cause me a lot of issues. I don't want that. I want drugs that suppress it, and I can be a productive member of society, pushing that stuff deep into old age when I'll think about it, or just suddenly have a heart attack at 35. But that explains the reason this podcast has a bit of a weird energy to it.
Oh, fuck it, here we go. Oh, it's controversial.
Having that guy around is the best thing that ever happened to the squad.
If you have the right mix of autism and steroids,
all these pundits and whatnot, a lot of people doubting me, you know.
I don't want to fucking have a conversation while I'm showering, you know? Like, the hobby I do is already so gay.
You are now listening to the El Segundo podcast with Craig Jones.
We are here, El Segundo, episode 21. Finally, 21 episodes deep. That's the preferred age range of Freddie in terms of finding a new man.
Welcome back, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah. 12. When I leave next, we're going to be 12 countries in 12 weeks. So I'm basically fucking brain dead at this point. I don't know how much time I've spent on planes. A couple of those flights were business class. The rest, I was back with the peasants.
Yep. We did a Spirit flight where you were the last, seat in the plane.
That was brutal. Freddie books the flights, and he picks me in the worst seat on the entire airplane.
I picked a good one for me. I was pretty close to the front of the plane.
You were close to the front. I was crammed in the back, stuck on the fucking runway for an hour when we landed. For some reason, air conditioners on planes don't work unless they're moving, which is horrible when you take planes out of Austin, Texas.
Yeah, we were stuck on the runway for 25, 30 minutes?
25, 30 minutes at least. It was fucking unbearable. I've been battling jet lag for literally
the entire year.
Yeah, entire year I've been jet lagged. That's why I'm always up at weird hours, 3 a.m. posting shit. Yeah, I don't even know what's going on anymore. But I'll try to go over some of the trip, and we'll get to the UFC 294 and me being attacked by Sambo guys. Luckily, they're not dangerous whatsoever, so we came out unscathed. But the trip started, obviously, when we left off, when I was, I think I posted the intro to the previous podcast from the Airbnb in Wollongong. So I say Wollongong, it's actually Windang. We're over there at Freestyle MMA. Joe Lopez is Volkanovski's coach. It's his main coach, you know. It's actually it's a funny thing because City Kickboxing as a gym, its name is massive, right? Obviously, they've got a big roster and they've got Adesanya and stuff. But for the longest time, people would always say that Volkanovski trained at City Kickboxing, which would drive Joe a little nuts, and there'd be fun back and forth between Eugene from City Kickboxing and Joe, where there'd be big newspaper editorials and stuff, and they would put Volkanovski at City Kickboxing, and Joe would lose it. Pretty funny. It's a good thing to stir him up about. Very animated guy. But yeah, for the record, Volkanovski spends almost all of his time in Windang at Freestyle MMA. Windang is a small beach city. I mean, it's pretty nice. I would still say the worst beach in Australia is better than the best beach in the US.
So where do you rate this one compared to a US one?
Higher than all the US ones.
Nah, Florida's nice, dude.
Florida is not nice. I don't rate the beaches in Florida.
Fucking, dude, you're picky, bro.
Yeah, I mean the Aussie ones are just too good. Or if you're in Southeast Asia and stuff,
yeah,
it's just not that nice. I guess into the Caribbean though, it's fucking beautiful. You know, top of Puerto Rico and stuff.
Fucking close to Florida. You see,
Florida is a toilet, my friend.
certain parts are. I remember when the Jacksonville Beach one, that was pretty shit.
Yeah, Jacksonville was an interesting place. Some of these places we go to on tour, you would be like, you end up there because you've got a seminar booked, but obviously, like, I don't know for what purpose I would end up there.
What does that say about you that we can only have cool seminars for you in like obscure cities?
Obscure cities, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably not, doesn't say a good thing. But, yeah, I was in Wollongong. I was only there for 3 days. I flew straight down, helped him do a few days prep before we flew to Abu Dhabi. But when we were down there, actually, my brother's really close friends with a hip-hop group in Australia called Hilltop Hoods. Oh, yeah. I know these guys as well. Obviously not as well, just hung out with them a few times, partied with them a few times, actually. So I've always wanted to see them live. I haven't seen them live since I was quite young just because of the travel schedule. But luckily, I arrived and they were at a music festival in Wollongong. So hit them up and they gave us some artist passes and stuff. But which was good and bad because, like I said in the last podcast, I was coming back from Bali on a bender. I got to San Diego, had a massive night that same night in which you absolutely abandon your friends. And then I got to Australia and I was like, that's it, I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm staying sober. And then as soon as we got those artist passes, immediately back on it. But nothing crazy because we partied until 1, 2 in the morning, called it quits. That's the good thing about a music festival, it ends early. And we had to train Volkanovski at like 7:30 in the morning. Fuck. So we got there, we trained him. We'd stayed disciplined, obviously, to the best of our abilities. We weren't too hammered or anything. I was actually able to train that day fine, and then we flew. So when I'd flown to Wollongong or whatever, Sydney, it was like, whatever it is to LA, 3-4 hours to LA, then 14 hours to Sydney, and then I'm in Sydney for 3 days, and then we have a 15-hour flight to Abu Dhabi. I'm in Abu Dhabi for a week, and then, yeah, another 23-hour journey from Abu Dhabi back here. And then, of course, next week, Tuesday, exactly a week from now, I'll take the 10-hour flight to London. So it's just getting fucking out of control. Eh?
And surely no stopping. I'm sure there's a couple trips before the year ends.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think I'll either end up back in, I might go to Singapore, coach the boys' Asian trials, and I might go to the UFC in China.
Oh, shit.
Hopefully that's it for the travel schedule, because I feel like at this point I'm going to die soon. Like, it's doing something to my body. You can't do it sober. You have to take some Xanax. But yeah, we partied a little bit in Wollongong again. I was only there for 3 days, but yeah, it is a beautiful place. They call it the Gong. It's kind of like it's a bit of a bogan place, like for non-Aussies, that's like rednecks and stuff. But yeah, great place. Well, I love bogans. I would consider myself a bogan, but
yourself.
Yeah, but like for people in Sydney, when you talk about people down the coast and stuff, they don't talk about it with too many kind words, you know, culture. It's like the way Australians as a whole talk about Americans. It's pretty similar sentiment, eh? But yeah, then we're in Abu Dhabi, and we go through fight week. Fight week's actually crazy. It's crazy what these guys have to do. Like, obviously, cutting weight. They have the stress of the fight. They're often jet lagged, especially if they're flying to Abu Dhabi, and then like based on the fact that we were in Abu Dhabi, Volks was walking at midnight to the ring, so we would structure our training sessions around that. So like, well, I was waking up at 6 a.m. and then our training session was like 10 p.m. So it's long days. Yeah. And you're basically in the entourage. So wherever Volks goes, you basically got a pretty loose commitment to follow him the whole way, even if that means you're just sitting on the couch or something, you know, a lot of downtime. But you watch what they have to do, and they have to do days of media. Like, they have to get the gloves fitted, get the uniform, pick up all the bags for the training partners, and then they have to begin the media. And obviously, media is more intense for the main event guys. But yeah, imagine at their most stressed, cutting weight, water loading. Like everywhere we're going, he's having to take a piss every 5-10 minutes. Yeah. So it's like it's grueling on the body. And then they do media interviews. And the problem with the media interviews, it's like it's a different person asking the same question. Yep. So you on the outside are hearing this, and you're like, fuck, just put 10 microphones in front of him. Like,
get it all at once.
Everyone's getting the same response. But of course, that doesn't draw as many views. So yeah, these guys are roped into all this crazy media stuff. Again, during jet lag, stress, weight cutting, water loading, and training. And still, like, obviously for us, last minute game plan stuff going into that fight, because we had a single week to think about it. Islam had basically a week to think about it too, change his approach, but at least he was sharp and he was in a fight camp, you know?
Yeah, he was preparing for that for a couple months on end.
But yeah, we're out in Abu Dhabi, and in terms of what it was like in Abu Dhabi, I haven't been back to Abu Dhabi since 2016. I used to do the World Pro in the gi. That was the only event I ever hit a major podium in the gi, so I got a bronze medal at that. But I did that 3-4 times. So I've been to Abu Dhabi a bit. Super nice place. Actually, every time I've been there, I've never had any time to do any of the tourist shit. So it's like I'm spending time in a hotel or at these events. But a lot of tourist shit. I wanted to go to the mosque. Didn't have time for that. Just a hectic schedule. Because, again, you're following his plan, and his every minute of the guy's day is occupied, you know?
I'm sure it's more stressful since it was on short notice as well. Having to get a lot more shit done in that little amount of time than usually.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like the people, the fans and shit, I don't think realize how much work it is. Like they look at these guys and probably think, oh, that'd be the dream. You know, what a dream gig. But it's a lot of shit to do. And something else as well the fans probably don't realize is like in terms of the events themselves, it's much more brutal than it looks on TV. You know, it's kind of, I'm not going to say censored, but it's quite softened on the TV. You know, like when you watch an MMA fight on TV, you see a guy get knocked out, very rarely are you like, it's got to be a real bad knockout. But like when you see that stuff in person, it's kind of like, it's crazy as well. Especially you see a guy get knocked out, the camera pans off him and it goes to the guy celebrating. But when you're there live and close, you're still looking at this guy unconscious on the ground. It's kind of like a troubling feeling. You're like, fuck, I hope this guy wakes up, you know?
Yeah,
obviously,
of course.
they fucking always do. But in terms of what the fans get out of the UFC and what the actual experience is like, it's pretty brutal. Especially when you're involved in the crowd in person. Like, oftentimes when Volkanovski's fought, he's been booed beyond belief. You know, it's like the energy is crazy in that arena. Especially when you walk out, fans are just screaming horrible shit if they don't like you. Like, it's a very weird energy. So for us going in on the weekend, it's like, if your guy gets knocked out in enemy territory, it's even worse. Like, it feels so much worse because it's like, obviously, something horrible's just happened to a friend of yours, but then the crowd's like celebrating, saying still horrible shit and stuff, and you're seeing what the camera pans away from. I feel like less people would watch fighting if the fan experience
to see the agony part of it.
Yeah, showcase the absolute worst side of it, which would be obviously immediate aftermath, getting the medical news in the tent, and then obviously immediately after you clear medicals, you're back in the locker room. So it's like it's a brutal experience.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I mean, even seeing his post-fight press conference, I'm like, dude, I can't believe they make this guy have to now talk to the media after having to deal with all that. That's got to be fucking tough.
Yeah, exactly. So we're backstage. He's having a moment, obviously. He's just lost. Feels terrible. Yeah. And then immediately they grab him to go do media. He didn't do all the, like sometimes, so there's a lot of media you can do. Like say when Izzy lost, he bounced and got Eugene to do his post-fight media scrum and stuff, or post-fight press conference. But Volks, I mean, he even did the interview in the cage. They not meant to really interview the guys that have been just been KO'd, but I think Volkanovski probably insisted. And then he did the post-fight press conference, and we just went back to the hotel after. But a lot of people make a big deal about sort of stuff he was saying at the press conference. Did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, he's coming off of probably like a super emotional moment, so you kind of say a lot of shit that I'm sure they wouldn't say otherwise. Yeah,
I mean, essentially the message was he struggles or he gets overwhelmed a bit if he's at home and he's not in camp.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it makes sense. If you got like, say for example, from my own personal side of things, like when I go into something like ADCC and it's like you're so dedicated to it, nothing else in jiu-jitsu really requires that much dedication. So it's like that's what an MMA fight is for these guys. So when they have that much focus, everything else is drowned out, and then it's just as soon as the event happens, whether it goes good or bad, that quiet time afterwards, it feels very like life's very dull.
Yep.
So like I think he just had elbow surgery, newborn baby, couldn't get out of the house much, and I think he was struggling with that. So when they offered him the fight, he was like, wow, yeah, finally, that's perfect. I'll have some direction again. Yeah, but I think a lot of people struggle with that stuff. I mean, I don't really, like, I love the idea of not competing anymore.
Really?
You know?
So, like, after this last ADCC, you don't get that, like, dump afterwards? You're like, fuck, like,
Oh, I still felt a bit of a dump because it's just the volume's turned down. You know what I mean? Anything you're focused on for so long, and like especially for ADCC, for us happens every 2 years, so we're going to put in a lot of effort. But for MMA fight, you put in the effort because you could get really hurt.
Yeah.
So like those guys have been dealing with this, what feels to them like a life and death situation, especially MMA. One loss, you lose so much money. So it's like for these guys, of course, even if they win, probably especially if they win immediately afterwards, it's just like it's never going to live up to the expectations you have in your head. In the immediate, like say if you win a big match or something, immediately you feel great. But the next 2 days, I mean, obviously that feeling's not going to carry over.
Yeah.
It's going to dull down. So he's talking about that. He does see a sports psychologist. I think probably some of the guys in B team, I imagine, have done that before.
Talk to a sports psychologist?
I feel like I've spoken to guys in there that have done that stuff.
I feel there's a few who fucking need it.
Yeah. I think there's a few that need a regular fucking psychologist, eh?
That's true. Yeah, a therapist would make some good money working out of here.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. So we should have it. Like some gyms have a physical therapy room in there because so many people are injured. We need a psychologist in every jiu-jitsu gym.
Surely, I feel like you already have a perfect couch for that room for some reason.
That's true. We already got the casting couch in there. Casting couch is good because you replace the psychological damage of being beaten up on the mats with a certain other type of emotional damage you receive on the couch. But yeah, Volks he's okay. Yeah, it's like obviously it's horrible. But I think as well, I've had concussions before, and you get crazy. It can make you crazy emotional. Like it can give you anxiety. Like those are the effects of the knockout. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even just missing sleep is going to raise your anxiety. So if I've had a few concussions in my time, not out cold, but where I've lost vision and fucking hearing and lost my equilibrium and stuff like that. And yeah, some of the effects after that can be emotional effects. So it's like, it's no surprise that whatever he was feeling during camp was just so amplified after.
Yeah.
And probably the feeling of like, because a lot of people told him not to take the match, like in terms of fans, the public and shit. Obviously, they respected it, but they were like, "That's wild." So that compounding that with having lost, you know, feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But
I think that's like the first time he's been finished in fucking 10 plus years or some crazy shit like that.
yeah, actually, the last guy that finished him was super early in his career at a heavier weight division. And funny story about that is, I remember when he had one of his big wins in the UFC. I think it was a Sydney Morning Herald, one of the big newspapers, ran a story about the crane driver that knocked out Volkanovski, and they like interviewed this dude.
Like a fucking plumber now or some shit.
I think he's a crane driver or something. Eh? I mean, it's still a fucking interesting gig, but
Got that fucking W on him though.
He's got that W. Yeah, I bet every single person in his life hears about that all the fucking time, eh?
Hey, the reverse side of that's got to be tough. You know, like you're like, fuck, I'm a crane driver. You know, I'm eating fucking.
Yeah, I mean,
TV
you won,
dinner.
but you're a crane driver,
Yeah.
like, and he's the UFC champ.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with crane drivers, except obviously if you're fighting MMA, your dream would have been to be a UFC champ. So it's like you wouldn't change places, you know. But yeah, that is fucking funny. Something else happened over there was what was it? Was we actually had, so you saw a photo floating around on social media of Islam and Volkanovski after the fight. So we had a meeting with some people from the UAE, and it was about, we were talking to about ADXC, that new grappling event. We'll get into that as well. We actually spoke to him about another project as well, but we had arranged this meeting. My friend Tariq, who was on the first event, who I had just trained with that day, had helped arrange this meeting at a coffee shop, right? But when you're meeting important people, especially like in high-power positions in countries like that, there's obviously customs and rules you kind of need to abide by to ensure like a good relationship. And certain things would be like, obviously, if it's your boss, a good rule is obviously, if in any capacity, if it's your boss, you should probably arrive first to the meeting. You probably shouldn't keep the guy above you waiting, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, those are customs, but obviously in some cultures more important than others. So he had arrived, and I believe he'd only been told that I was coming, because we were like, oh, no one, like Volk's management and stuff, we're giving our shit this whole week, but we were like, oh, he'll probably be late. And if the guy shows up and has to wait 30 minutes for these guys, it's probably a bad look. So we show up, and then luckily Volk's crew shows up, but he hadn't told them they were coming, just in case they were late.
Yeah.
Like, could be perceived as, I don't know, disrespect or something.
Yeah.
So Volk shows up, but the guy we were meeting with, the guy that runs the UAJJ, I believe his nickname is the General. He had tried to see Islam as well before Islam left. So Islam showed up at the coffee shop as well. So we're there eating lunch or whatever, having this meeting. And he's like, oh, someone's out front, but you probably don't want to see him. He says that to Volkanovski. And then we like look out the window and Islam's crew comes in and they come in and they sit at another table and order some food and stuff. And then Islam actually paid our check, which was super kind of the guy,
that's
right?
crazy. What a guy.
We didn't hear about that till after, but then Volks and Islam obviously got a photo together and stuff. Oh, friendly, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the Sambo guys, I imagine they saw the things I said. They were chill. Islam shook my hand after the...
You did a lot of media, so I'm sure they fucking saw it.
I did a lot of media, a lot of poking fun at Sambo. Sambo won this time, but was actually a Muay Thai head kick. So again, another borrowed technique, something that Sambo artists cannot take responsibility for. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of Sambo enthusiasts. It's just so good. If you're from any niche community, it's so good to wind people up.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
If you're a catch wrestler, if you're in the UK and you're a catch wrestler and 99.9% of the rest of the grapplers are doing jiu-jitsu, you are just so vulnerable to being stitched up, you know? So it's like Sambo guys, very sensitive. Again, if you're part of a niche community within a broader thing, such as Sambo within the grappling world, it's like you are sensitive because you're not doing the more popular martial arts. So it's like it's so good to remind them of its ineffectiveness and the reason that people do other grappling arts instead of Sambo. But yeah, Islam was sick. He was actually limping on his leg. I think he might have broken his leg or something when he kicked.
He put ice on it in the press conference. You can see he was icing it. He said he has a hard head.
Yeah, his leg looked quite injured. So I was like, obviously, I said to Volks, I was like, man, if you ate that, you had this in the bag. You had a broken leg. You know what I mean?
If you would have eaten that, that's a tough one to.
It was a crazy card though. A lot of times because it was UFC caters events. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of people think matchmaking and stuff. Like they don't think it's difficult. They don't think there's deeper meaning behind it. But like the way they match up opponents, they do it brilliantly, right? Yeah. And they do it to appeal to an audience, and you see them obviously have a heavy business approach. So when there's a region that they want to get into, they want to draw upon that audience, grow that audience. This is the way fighting's been forever, boxing's been forever. You want a star from that region. So you see how they cater some events towards the locals, right? So obviously in this area, there are a lot of Muslims, and they generally back each other, even if they're from different countries. There are cultural similarities, so they're oftentimes going to back that person, just like we instinctually. Like as an Australian, I see an Aussie compete and saying, the instinct is to be like, oh, yeah,
root for the guy, yeah, support
your guy. So it's obviously capitalizes on those instincts. But yeah, this card was definitely tailored towards these guys dominating, because it's going to give a better fan experience for the crowd and make them stronger fans of the UFC. So oftentimes, if you see them entering an area, they want the local talent to win.
Yeah, of course.
That's not to take anything away from these guys' victories. These guys were incredible out there. They dominated the non-locally targeted fighters. But yeah, that's why often you'll see an event where it's like, it's in Australia and it'll be like 5 of the 8 Australian guys won their fights. And you're like, fuck, that's good for business. That's a smart way to hustle it. But yeah, the mood in there, because of that, there wasn't much celebration, because there was so much talk about Israel and Palestine and what's going on over there right now. So you saw the post-fight interviews. A lot of those were quiet. They weren't celebratory. You know what I mean? Like Islam. You mean
it was like he did like the Khabib?
Yeah, Islam's doing this and telling everyone to be quiet. People interpreted that as to his haters, but I think that's him basically being like, "Hey, this isn't the time."
He did the same. It was Khabib did that celebration when he submitted Justin.
Yeah,
I think his father had just died, right? And he was just like,
yeah, he's like, it's like sort of, it's not like a silence the haters.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everyone respects Islam, knows how good he is. I think that was more of a message towards Palestine.
What's going on, yeah.
But yeah, obviously, great. That was a great card. Again, I spoke about ADXC. We went to see this event, right? This event is the dream event for me, because I do a lot of wool work with the MMA guys. I have a bad gas tank. These guys are doing 3x3 minute rounds or 5x3. That is the absolute dream. This is we went to this event. This is the highest production event I've ever seen in grappling. And we just did Quintet, and Quintet was awesome.
Yeah.
But this one was far superior. Like, the amount of money they must have put into this event, insane. Well, I'm talking into the millions for sure.
Really? How do you compare it to AIGA? Because I know you had said that was a really high production one as well.
AIGA is a high production, but I think basically this event's ran by the Abu Dhabi sort of tourism commission. Like, it's a way to attract people to Abu Dhabi. So it's like it's basically got an open budget. But in terms of production, what I'm talking about is every aspect of it was basically a UFC event. It was basically UFC level production. And that's sick. From showing guys like walking into the arena, like the way they did the press conference, all these things. I mean, you take all the behind the scenes stuff of a UFC event, which I've become familiar with just from cornering for Volks. And this was on the exact same scale and scope. So it's like it's a crazy production for an event. Had some good matches. I wasn't a massive fan of some of the gi matches, but gi's massive in Abu Dhabi. So they need to blend these two together. They can't let go of the gi if they want to draw in the locals, because I believe they were telling me every 5 years they have a bit of a swing and they change directions. So they had Abu Dhabi World Pro, then they had the AJP Tour, and now they've got ADXC.
These are the same people?
The same person that runs UAEJJ.
Sick.
Because over 300,000 people do jiu-jitsu in the UAE.
Yeah. It's like it's part of the curriculum.
Yeah, part of the school curriculum. I remember it started because they started flying. If you were a black belt, you were eligible to move out there and teach in schools and actually make pretty damn good money doing that stuff. So they've got tons of local talent, but especially in the gi, because they had a gi focus, these events. Obviously, ADCC was started a lot longer before World Pro and stuff, but given it travels around, whereas these previous events like the World Pro final was always in Abu Dhabi and stuff. So it's like there's a lot more gi practitioners over there. But I think ADXC will bring a lot of no gi talent. Like I really want to compete for it for the next one, because it looks awesome. And I love defense wrestling. Wrestling in open space, like if there's no stalling penalties and guys keep backing up, it's
you just have to recenter you.
Yeah, let's just put a wall there. I can run you into a wall. Yeah. That's much safer. Yeah. It's much I'd rather see stalling on the wall than stalling where two people aren't even touching each other. Yeah. So I like the idea of that. I also think it brings in more MMA fighters, because I'll be like, oh, you can't do your submissions in wrestling if I put your ass against the cage, So I think it'll draw those guys in. So I think ADXC will be actually quite a big event going forward. I know they've got a 2-year commitment to it, so there'll be 2 years of these events.
Do they stream this right now on anything, or?
When your money's on the line, choose the trusted sportsbook that gives you the tools to win, like MyBookie. Jartin Almeida versus Derek Lewis. There's a lot of names on this fucking card that I have no idea how to pronounce, but Almeida has 12 submissions as a heavyweight. If he doesn't get knocked out shooting a takedown, 100% submission rate in this match. I think he submits Derek Lewis very, very easy. Again, if he doesn't get knocked out coming in. But the more interesting match, I think, Kyle Bahalo versus Abus Magomedov. Abus, unfortunately, is who Sean Strickland finished to get the title shot against Izzy. So we can all thank Abus Magomedov for having Sean Strickland as UFC champion. But Kyle Bahalo is a guy that keeps getting fed unknown killers in this division and keeps beating him. He's beaten some really good wrestlers. So I think he is a prodigy in this division. Interestingly enough, he actually lost a grappling match to Jartin Almeida, but Almeida is absolutely huge. So it's like, goes without saying that he's still a very good grappler. Middleweight versus a heavyweight in that grappling match. But I'm going to pick Kyle Bahalo. This time, I think he gets a submission win, rear naked choke. So I'm going with all the grapplers on this card. I believe Adolfo Vieira's in there as well. No idea who he's facing, but we'll support the grapplers and bet money on him as well. Go to mybookie.ag, use promo code BTEAM on your first deposit, and MyBookie will give you up to $200 cash bonus. That's promo code BTEAM to claim your own cash bonus, or click the link in the description and place your bets. Let me know your picks in the comments and start winning. If you want a sports book that gives you the most for your money, bet on UFC with MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. I think they streamed it on their own platform.
Oh, cool.
But I'm not sure what the future holds for that. I imagine still on their own platform. A lot of people talk about putting, like, I like it when an event's just free on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember we used to be able to watch one championship on YouTube, and they moved it to Amazon Prime. And obviously all the fighters were making a big deal about, oh my God, it's on Amazon Prime. And I was like, but it was free.
Yeah.
You know, like
Less
it's like
people are gonna watch it now.
yeah, like it's like if it's free on YouTube, if it's such a big organization that they don't require the money off the streaming rights, it's like free is better because there are more eyes on it as a whole.
That's true. I wonder what the business decision goes in there because, Amazon definitely cuts that viewership. YouTube makes it so easy to watch shit, you know.
Yeah, I think it just adds a bit of legitimacy to the brand. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm competing on an event that's free on YouTube, or I'm competing on an event, where do I watch it? Amazon.
It's behind the paywall and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost sounds.
It sounds like the company who's throwing the event would make less money signing this exclusive deal than probably making what you would make on ad revenue on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I see it too. Because One Championship do crazy numbers on social media and YouTube and stuff. They're really, really good at that. I think because they say it's actually a social media company, not a fight company. It's like that's where their growth is. That's where they kill it.
Yeah, that's where the money is.
They've got a crazy social media team, always posting stuff. So they just sometimes they have some of the best athletes in the world, but it seems tough sometimes to find them other best athletes in the world to face off against them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Mikey Hatch and Aoki, hit the Aoki lock. Tyra Tolo's got a guy now who actually trains with Islam. I competed against this guy in Kazakhstan years ago, but now Ty has him. And what's his name? He's got Abdul Kadirov. Abdul Kadirov is his name, yeah. But he's competing against Ty. He went to ADCC 2015 in Brazil, the one I made my debut at, and he hit a seat like an arm drag in a wrestling position and took Benson Henderson's back and choked him. And then I remember he almost took Lovato's back. He hit like a truck roll through, almost took his back. Lovato eventually got out and won. But this guy's pretty tough, so it'd be an interesting match. But it'd be tough to beat Tyra Tolo.
Yeah, Tyra Tolo, so fucking good. Do you think that the reason why they can't? You're saying like they have some of the best people in the world, but then it's hard to kind of match these guys up with anybody else. Like, do you think it's because of the contract? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I think they just have one guy. They target the best guy in the world in each division.
Yeah,
and then that's just hard for them to get an opponent of a similar level and stuff. You know, like I'm trying to think. Tyra Tolo was an 88 kilo guy. Like, how sick would it be Tyra Tolo versus Giancarlo or something like that? Yeah. But instead, he's facing this guy I've competed against before. Good guy, but this guy's prime is definitely behind him. Like, I think he's more of a coaching role now. So,
yeah. I can't think of any like super crazy matchups they've had. It's usually like a star versus somebody who's not as known.
Yep. I mean, they did Danielle Kelly and Jessica Khan was kind of
that was probably a good one. Yeah,
that in my opinion, sort of a very impactful match in terms of the quality of opponent
like names,
for Danielle Kelly. But yeah, one championship's cool. I don't know if I could commit to a contract out there because it's like, I'm brain dead now. Like, if that'd be me, that's a long flight. If I lived in Australia, it'd be a bit better to go to their events. But
they do hand out those fucking 50K bonuses like nothing, bro.
50K bonuses, yeah. But I don't want to compete for a bonus. I want it in my contract, you know.
Yeah, you get it. Regardless.
If you can afford to give me extra 50, give it to me to show. You know, like I don't want to rely on it.
Oh, dude, they give you you win a decision, they give you that shit.
Yeah.
Like, hand it out, bro.
It'd be sick to be Shatri though and sit down on the sidelines and be like, fuck, I don't like this guy. Even if he kills this guy, I'm not giving him a bonus, you know what I mean? He should just do gladiator style, like thumb up, thumb down.
How fucking epic would that be? That'd be fucking sick.
That would be hilarious. That's what they should do in jiu-jitsu if there's an overtime. It's like some guy just is like 5 more minutes.
I'm surprised that doesn't exist because that actually be fucking great.
Be good, yeah. Be good if I host my own event and do that, and it's just always 5 more minutes until someone has a heart attack and dies.
Someone has to fucking die.
What grappling events we got coming up? We got Gordon versus Barbosa.
Yeah. Recent, and then just announced he's fighting Mason.
Yes, Mason as well. That'll be a good
December.
match.
And Marigali and Felipe Pena.
Marigali and Felipe Pena. People give me shit because I was criticizing Gordon for taking these matches, but it's like, I'm admitting, hey, like Gerard Michaud's got 27 submissions. I should beat him. And that's the business sense of me. It's like, oh, this is a guy I should beat. He's an MMA guy. I'll take the match. You know what I mean? I'm not like pretending that I'm going to face the best guys in the world. If you want me to face the best guys in the world, you guys can pay me a lot of money because I have to make such a sacrifice in camp. But Lucas Barbosa fought for PFL at 170 pounds.
That's crazy, bro.
He's coming off a loss to Pedro Rocha, which is Joao Rocha's, I believe it's his younger brother.
Yeah.
Pedro's got a vicious guillotine, caught him in a guillotine. I mean, Lucas Barbosa is tough, but in terms of matchups, Mason's a more interesting match. Mason's good in overtime. I wish they had an EBI overtime for that match just because I don't know. I mean, I don't know who would be better in overtime. You have to assume Gordon just based on his accomplishments, but it'd be a closer match. Mason's a gamer, though. Like, when he shows up, he's going to be in fantastic shape. He's going to have a strategy he'll stick to. He won't give in to fan pressure to put on an exciting match. Like, Mason's a gamer. He's there to win. You know what I mean? So it's like that will be a tough challenge for Gordon if Gordon struggles to sweep him. Mason's probably a little better of a wrestler, maybe. Better shot, at least, in terms of can he keep him down and win the follow-up scramble? I'm not sure.
Do you know what the rules for like how long these matches are? Like,
I think it's a 20-minute match. 20-minute match. It's a tricky one, because obviously a 20-minute match. When Cade Rotolo for Roberto Jimenez, that was a long match. That was an exciting match every minute of the match. But for the most part, the longer the match goes, the bit more boring it is. People will say to me, hey, I think there's a time and a place for multiple rule sets, because some people I like to watch in no time limit, some people I like to watch shorter duration. My only thought on that is MMA's MMA everywhere in the world. They have the unified rule set. So when you think of an MMA fight, you think of the unified rule set. It has a meaning. It's the same. It's easy to follow. Yeah. UFC fans, to the best of their ability, think they know how a round's going. You know what I mean? And most of the time I'd say it's probably pretty in line with the judges' decisions. Whereas grappling, it's like multiple rule sets. Everyone keeps trying to find the perfect rule set. There is no perfect rule set. You should just pick one and standardize it. So then at least that small percentage of people that watch jiu-jitsu and don't do it, at least there's a consistency amongst events. Yeah. Like, it's crazy. It's like a Fight Pass event sometimes. Every single match on the card's got a different rule set. Yeah. It's very confusing.
That happened when you fought Philippe. It was Glover and Anthony Smith was like completely different rule set. Your fight was like time period. It was super confusing.
I think what would be great for grappling is actually to have rounds. Like ADXC is doing rounds. Some of those Fight Pass events that would do 3. Because the idea is it's like you can just take it round by round. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you won't get if nothing's happening in a boring position. Like say, all right, let's look at Nicky Ryan, Renee Souza, right? Nicky took his back pretty early and held it for the whole match. If that was 3 5-minute rounds instead of a 15-minute round, at least after 5 minutes, Nicky hasn't got the sub, have a quick breather, they go again. Yeah. Now we see something else happening. So it's like, I do agree it's bad to take someone out of a good position. But I also don't want to see someone in a good position for 15 minutes.
Because that's the argument, right? Like, it's hard to do a certain amount of work in little amount of time. So, like, how long are the rounds? You said they're 3...
3-minute rounds for ADXC.
3 minutes is pretty hard to submit somebody who's at a high level.
For sure, but what should happen, this is what should happen, right, is let's say me and you go out and you decisively win the first 2 rounds. We might even have one scramble in 3 minutes, but you win that scramble. I now know that I have to go for the kill. Me going for the kill and you being complacent, you'd win the decision even if you lost the round, means that for me, I have to take risks. I either have to take a big risk or I lose. You are going to see whatever I'm going to do coming because you're comfortably waiting. So it creates this, it should create a last round pressure situation where I'm more likely to submit you and you're more likely to submit me because we have an understanding that one of us is going to lose.
Yeah, like it has to happen this round.
That's what should happen. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, sometimes people are quite happy to just not get submitted. Yeah. Like they lose that drive. They'll be like, oh, well, at least he didn't submit me. Like it's some sort of not a real victory or something.
Because look, fucking smart water, bro.
It's been filled out of the tap, though.
I'd imagine with this rule set, you see less matches finished by submission, but you probably will see
better wrestling scrambles.
Yeah.
The future of the sport are scrambles. Submissions are icing on top, you know. Some of the best matches are just one scramble after another. They're not submission shootouts.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like we're just stuck at definitely like people want to see a submission, but that's like I feel like people who train. I wonder like if people who don't train who want to watch this as a hobbyist, do they share that? Do they want to see submissions or do they want to see sick scrambles the entire time?
I want to see people have crazy scrambles, lay traps, and counter each other, and in that scramble, a submission occurs. That's fucking exciting. When we get to these matches where it's so long that one guy just becomes so exhausted, anything would submit him. It's still impressive because your jiu-jitsu was better. You were more efficient. You forced this guy to gas out. But when there's a crazy scramble that leads to a submission and both two guys are going for the kill, that to me is the most exciting, most technical part of the sport.
And then for something like this, how would you combat you have some people two grapplers who don't really know how to wrestle stand up and just kind of push each other for
stalling penalties. Yeah. Heavy stalling penalties. Hey, you're backing up. You're on the shot clock like wrestling.
Is that something that ADXC does?
They don't have a shot clock yet, but I was pushing for them to get a shot clock.
Yeah, that make it interesting because that also ruins a lot of matches for me, I feel like.
Yeah, you just want to see...
Just want to see action.
You want to see two guys that go for it. Volk was talking about in the Islam fight how he didn't let his hands go, how he didn't go for it. He was at a closer range this fight and he didn't pull the trigger, and it's like sometimes mental things get the better of us, like some days we're just not on. Like maybe he was thinking, I can't go for it because I didn't have a full camp. I can't go for it. I won't have the gas tank to last five
rounds, yeah.
Or maybe because he had a tiny camp and he wasn't sparring, he didn't have the looks, he didn't have the confidence to go for it, Sometimes we just don't pull the trigger for whatever reason. So, yeah, even in the perfect rule set, sometimes there's going to be some boring shit go down. But, again, if there's a shot clock and now you recognize that, hey, I'm going to lose the round unless I make something happen, what should happen is you are forced to attack. That might lead to your victory or your defeat, but we want people to take risks. How do we encourage risk taking? That's the question.
Yeah, no, that makes. Even after some matches where some people lose, they don't lose stock if they've had if they lost an exciting match.
Yeah, exactly. It's like who is not going to tune into a J-Rod match?
Yeah, I was going to say that Mika match he might have lost, but he gained a lot of fans just based on the fact on how he competed and then also like how he handles the loss afterwards as well. He does a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, it's basically the idea of just going out on your sword.
Yeah.
That's what fans love. They want to know that you gave it everything. They want you to win, sure. But some of the most beloved figures in boxing didn't retire undefeated. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's like if the fans will still love you as long as you go for it.
Yeah, as long as you're exciting.
In a perfect world, you would not lose. Yeah. They're not going to dislike you for winning too much. But yeah, I think guys like J-Rod and stuff, that's the most exciting. Joseph Chen, his ADCC trials performance, he obviously won every match, but he went for it. He was the whole time he's attacking every minute of every match.
Yeah, he was in a bad position at the end there with Taza pretty quickly into the round, right?
Yep.
And ended up winning. So, yeah, he also another guy who's exciting the entire time.
Poor Taz actually losing at trials, right? Again, second place at trials.
Yeah. He's got a bunch of chances to win it, though. So
he's got too much chances. I'm not sure how I feel about, if you just happen to have, two passports, you got to do twice as many trials as people.
Are you only allowed to have dual citizenship? Can you have multiple, let's say, Russian grandparents, American, and then also Japanese or some shit. You can only have two?
I'm not sure if there's a limit on the amount. I think it depends on the country. Of residency and stuff, yeah.
Because, I was wondering if there's any guy who can do all the trials or a majority of the trials.
That would be funny. It adds a layer of pressure, too, because imagine you could do all the trials and you still don't win. Fuck. But, yeah, we haven't even spoken about trials, hey, so...
Oh, yeah.
So Dorian trains here, whatever it is. God knows. I'm not even here. However many times.
He comes maybe once every 2 weeks and stays an entire week maybe.
Yeah, he comes to scrap. He had a great performance. Took out Ethan. I saw him and Ethan rolling before the event. Ethan did have the ability to win, but it was a bad style matchup for Ethan. So Dorian took him out in the competition, but then Dorian took out Gianni Grippo too.
Yeah, had a lot of big wins.
And he took out the guy that's just moved to New Wave. What is his name in the final?
Dominic Mejia.
Yes, Dominic Mejia. Dominic Mejia is real slick. He had a good run. He avenged his loss to the
Corbet brothers.
Yeah, well, at least I saw him lose to DeAndre Corbet.
Oh yeah, that's at Enigma. That just happened.
I mean, there's something to be said. It's like you can, if you beat a guy at an event like Enigma and he beats you at trials, it's like he's up because that was a more important.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a more important victory.
I mean, fucking, he beat his brother, so it's like, dude, that's double.
Yeah, taking out brothers. Hey, that's
tough.
That's brutal. But yeah, he kind of got manhandled. Dorian, it's funny. Dorian's not a man, but he's manhandling people.
Dude, yeah. I mean, the Gianni match, he seemed to have Gianni just running the entire time, and obviously Gianni's fucking legend. He's fucking won almost everything.
That's true. Yeah, Gianni's been around a long, long time. Gianni, I remember him coming up, being like that purple belt guy. Like he's been in the game an awfully long time. He seems to have these moments where it might be we don't hear from him for a year or two, and then he has this moment where he like bounces back and he beats all these good people and stuff. But like we don't. He's always competing, but he's had some big moments in his career. But I feel like, I feel like he could have beaten Dorian. It's just Dorian's that's a problem.
He's perfect for that rule set, man. Like,
yeah, Dorian's I believe he's gonna medal at ADCC. It's just like it's
championship?
a nightmare matchup for people.
I mean, yes, he's super tough, and even like he has him and his dad. You hear his dad like running stuff through him during the match, and it's like super strategic. Like they're fucking really plan this entire thing out. Like he does a really good job, especially when people like, you could take a shot and sprawl for like 3 seconds and pull. He has like a really good job at like letting people go before that, and then they'll end up getting the negative anyways. Yeah, he's perfect for this rule set, man. Like, I'm not shocked he did so well.
Yeah, he's gonna be a problem for facing these 17-year-old kids. And then 77, we had Nicky Ryan. Nicky Ryan lost to a Lloyd Irvin guy. What's that guy's name? We better.
Man, his last name is Dorsey. I don't know.
No, not Jack Dorsey. He runs Twitter.
Elijah Dorsey.
Elijah Dorsey. Yeah. Honestly, a guy I'd never heard of, but Lloyd Irvin has some tough athletes. Gamers. I remember that Lloyd Irvin 1 year at Worlds, the guy was losing by a sweep or maybe a point or something, and the whole team did a fake countdown. So there was 20 seconds left, but they started counting down from 10.
Oh, that's funny.
And then the opponent thought the match was over and got swept, and the other guy won. So it's like that's the indication into the level of
manipulation,
gamesmanship these guys have.
Holy fuck. Yeah, I mean, dude, this kid Elijah looked like it was like his day to win it, man. He had obviously beat Taza before that. He took out the Navy guy was here, Bobby. He took out some names on the way to winning the whole thing.
Stayed fresh the entire time too.
Yeah.
Just an important point about conditioning. Sports moving towards a level of conditioning.
You got to be a full athlete.
Yeah, MMA fighters have. So it's like you got to be training. You got to be training like your MMA heroes to be able to really cut it, especially in a ADCC trials event. Because if you come across a Dorsey or a Dorian, you can't guarantee you submit him.
Yep.
If you don't submit him, you better have as good a gas tank as them. 88, Jay loses to Hillbilly.
Yep.
Goes back out for his bronze medal match, and Will Tackett, rightfully so, jumps on that bad ankle. You can't trust these homeschool kids, eh? Blood in the water, a limp to them.
Yeah. I saw it right away. Like, as soon as it happened, he kind of looked at it, and I was like, oh, he's going to go for it. And right on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Hillbilly's a likable figure. It's good he was able to take it out. He's always so emotional after matches and stuff.
He did like a full-on lap and fucking shook everybody's hand. The arena, like the whole place was going pretty crazy for this guy.
Yeah, he's just he's like a underdog figure. Like I definitely didn't expect him to win, but he did. He looked great. Like Will Tackett versus Hillbilly. Did they have a match at that tournament?
No, Elder Cruz took out.
But you remember back at the Flow Grappling tournament, there was Tackett was in there. He submitted Dante Leon with a calf slicer. Hillbilly submitted Roberto Jimenez. Did they? I think they might.
They might have.
You have to check that, eh? But that'd be a cool match to see. But yeah, Hillbilly submitted everyone. Great performance. Be interesting to see how he goes at 88. Obviously, Isaac controlled him pretty well at WNO. So, like, he controlled him pretty well. Didn't submit. I mean, same with Joseph Chandler. Positionally controlled him very well, but couldn't get the submission. But you'd have to imagine ADCC rule set would probably favor Isaac for the rematch.
Yeah. Dude, I can't find anything on...
Tackett versus Hillbilly?
Yeah. Oh, no, Jacob Couch defeats William Tackett via first-round decision.
At
This is a Flow Grappling WNO Championship,
I thought
2021.
I could remember that. Yeah, I think that might have been for the bronze medal.
It doesn't say. It just says via round decision.
Yes, I'm sure Tackett's dying for the rematch. 99 was Ardilla, the lawyer again, right?
Ardilla versus this guy from 10th Planet.
Ardilla just fucking loves a trials victory. Yeah. He's had to face Trator 2 times at ADCC, the poor bastard.
I think he'll be going to ADCC 3 times, or he's gone to ADCC 3 times and lost in the first round every time so far. So
that's rough, eh? Yeah. I mean, you're still there though, eh? You're still top 16 in the world.
Pretty impressive though, still to be a full-time lawyer, job. Owns his own firm, and then do this type of shit for fun. So.
That is. You gotta appreciate people that have multiple areas of expertise. You know what I mean? Like, because he's outperforming people that only do jiu-jitsu, and he's a goddamn lawyer at the same time. Hey, that's not him working a regular job. That's a pretty fulfilling full-time gig.
Full-time gig, and apparently he's fucking pretty serious. So, like, a pretty good fucking lawyer.
Yeah, I feel like that probably the energy required to be a good lawyer probably channels quite well into athletics as well, like that desire to win, Yeah.
But yeah, he's also a super nice guy. We were just there with Nicky Rod and Jay, and they trained, and they scrapped. He has a couple of good guys coming up as well. So,
and 99 was Big Dan,
Big Dan, and the guy he faced, Davi Ramos. No, not Davi, but something Ramos. The kid he's
Nicky Rod faced him, right?
Yeah, Nicky Rod beat him.
Big Mexican kid, yeah.
Yeah. He's from Reno. We've done a couple seminars there. He's trains out of that gym.
No shit, yeah. I mean, Big Dan, that's a tough guy. Like, that's a tough dude to take on. Like, 6'8", 6'6"?
I just know he's close to 300 pounds.
Yeah, 300 pounds.
No one's close to that.
Plays jiu-jitsu like a small guy. That's a fucking nightmare, right?
Yeah, he looked good in the weekend, obviously. I wanted to see him versus Hansen, but Ramos knocked out Hansen in the semis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that match yet. That'd be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah. Hansen's the one that ended up taking out Big Vince. Obviously, the match that I wanted to see was Big Vince and Big Dan, but we didn't get it.
How did he take him out?
Hansen beat Vince by points. Took his back, and Vince wasn't able to recover the points before the time ended.
What was the event like? Because it's in Atlantic City. Atlantic City's kind of a dodgy spot.
Man. Like it's definitely a dodgy spot. I was at the hotel or the venue like 90% of the time. But yeah, man, it's like nothing's around. Atlantic City's like an interesting place. Nothing around. At night we were like looking for like places to eat that were close to the venue. Nothing really. But the event was nice, man. They ran it pretty well. Ran pretty smooth. I felt like everything was kind of like on time. But there weren't any like crazy viral moments this year. Like, we had the Damien versus fucking Tackett.
I mean, there was that Cody Steele moment, but
he like slammed the guy. How do you feel about that? A lot of people talking about this lately, like letting the matches go off on the side of the match.
I mean, it goes viral, but
but is it safe?
It's definitely not safe.
Yeah.
But could we not just have bigger mats?
Yeah.
Like, was there not enough space there?
Man, with the amount of people, there definitely would have not been a lot of space, but it's something that they could have planned for sure, Like, if that was something that was in the plans, they could have done better, but it's kind of hard to do. They're like in a conference room in a hotel, it's like...
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, yeah. I mean, it is cool.
Yeah.
The videos are crazy, but it's like, I would hate for someone to get hurt in that moment, but this is what you signed up for. You know the rules. Yeah. You know, like, what's at stake here.
It's like Cody Steele was like feet away from suplexing this guy onto the fucking concrete. It's like literally rug like this.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if all people would do that. Like I'm kind of sometimes like, say when I compete against Philippe, a couple of times I could have taken him off the ledge, but I was like, oh, no,
what the fuck's the point? Yeah,
pull my punch. I'm not sure if I'd be the guy unless I didn't like my opponent to slam him onto the
concrete. Yeah. That was like the only thing I've heard people talk about during the weekend, that they didn't really like that. But
It's sold out, right? All divisions sold out.
I don't know about all of them, but definitely 77, 66. Those two for sure, but I'm not sure. I can't imagine there was 256 plus 99 guys there.
That's true. They're all 66, 77.
I mean,
88.
Vince only had one match. So there was something weird. Like, Big Dan on the day wasn't on the bracket. So Vince wasn't going to have a match because he was already he was already part of the 32. And then later they're like, oh no, Dan's in there now. And then Vince ended up having a match. Dan had a bye, obviously, being the number 1 seed. But yeah, I think they only had like 40 guys, maybe, like not too many guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we changed a bit of the training leading up to this. Like, we oftentimes would do 6 10-minute rounds at lunch. Probably not enough positional rounds, but leading up to it with, like, me and Nikki and stuff, we would be training 8 a.m. We try to make that 8 a.m. sesh more of a pro sesh at B Team now, just with a bit more structure, shorter, like, trials matches are 6 minutes, so we're doing a lot of 3-man drills, 3-man groups of you're in for 6, out for 3, like, just raising the intensity. Sometimes when you're one of the better guys in the gym, you can roll a bit light because you're able to beat these guys without going hard. But I think you need some scraps in the gym leading up to events, and I think short duration scraps are a bit safer because it keeps you. It's just not as dragged out. Some of the worst injuries I think are when you're like 6 rounds deep, 10-minute rounds, like your body's dead. Short sprints are a bit better on the body and help boost the gas tank. I think Nikki showed another level of aggression. We didn't do this before the Rene Souza match. Yeah. We did this before this event just to raise his intensity.
I mean, he fucking had like maybe 6 minutes of mat time before the final. Like
exactly, yeah. And that's, I think, short duration, high intensity training is going to make you more able to do that, If you flow roll for 60 minutes a day, I don't think you're submitting multiple opponents in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just a pity he lost the final. But yeah, I think he's coming back, finally get some confidence back after his injury.
Yeah, I think he's got a couple matches he wants to kind of set up already. He's trying to stay busy.
And he's a bit more motivated lately.
Yeah. I mean, fucking, you fly out for like a week, come back and beat him up. It's like, that's good motivation for the guy for sure.
Yeah, I came back in today and I'm dead. I woke up at 5 a.m. I feel good though. Like I slept 9 p.m. until 5 a.m., which is decent post-jet lag.
Pretty good, yeah.
Sometimes, like, when we got back from the last trip, I was waking up at, like, 2:30 in the morning. So I woke up at 5. I felt fucking great. But then by the time I got to rolling this morning, we did this about 8:40, I was like, fuck this. I deserve to suffer or something. We'll do a Shark Tank. I was like, I'll grab JB, Nikki. We'll do 15 minutes. I'll stay in the whole time. But then I was like, I'll do JB the first round, use him to warm up a bit. I try to always use the first round to warm up, then Nikki. So it would have been 3 minutes. It would have been 5 rounds, right? It would have been JB, Nikki, JB, Nikki, JB. And I was like, well, that's unfair because Nikki doesn't get 3 rounds to attack me. So I was like, fuck it, we're doing 18 minutes. So fresh off the plane yesterday, come in today, get Shark Tanked by JB and Nikki for 18 minutes straight. Was pretty rough. I would admit pretty rough, but a good blowout on the lungs. That's a little insight into my preparation for Mearshot. I need to be able to do 15 minutes of a scrap. Yeah. I don't want to be concerned about lasting 15 minutes,
Yeah. This morning you definitely fucking pushed the pace. I don't think I've fucking seen you do that in a while.
Yeah, I'm moving towards, like, when B Team Open I'd try to lead by example. I'd be like, I'm going to do 2 sessions a day every day. So I'd do 6 6s in the morning at 8 a.m. and I'd try to do maybe 4 10s at lunch. That was my schedule every day, and I'd lift as well. And body did not handle that too well. So in terms of getting sick, not injured, I'm mostly a guy that gets sick. But now at this point, I'm so busy doing other things. It's like it's not even feasible for me to be doing 2 long sessions a day. So I also feel better if I do shorter duration, higher intensity training. Whereas for most of my career, I've erred on the other side. Yeah. But I actually feel much better doing short burst training, almost like kind of inspired by what I see with Volkanovski and stuff. It's like that style of training, even the city kickboxing guys, like that style of training. Like if it works for 5-minute rounds, there's no reason that style of training is not going to work for one 15-minute match.
Yeah. Does Volk do stuff like that, like year round, or is that just like a camp thing?
Just a camp. They'll do these things called meat grinders, which is basically a shark tank, and they'll do another crazy conditioning style workout, another 2 versions of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to do that. I think it's very important mentally. Like obviously not to give away results, but today I'm jet lagged. Nikki and JB obviously have a size advantage over both. I have probably 25, 30 pounds on Nikki Ryan, 10 pounds on JB. But to do 18 minutes straight, I was able to get a few submissions in there and also not get submitted myself, not get put in a bad position. Does feel good because those are 2 really high quality guys to train with. So it's like that does instill confidence, and I think it makes you dig pretty damn deep. Makes you stay disciplined too. Like if I get tired and get out of position in wrestling, even though I have a big size advantage on those guys will have the ability to take me down.
Yeah.
So it means that no matter how tired I am, when that fresh guy comes in, I better be in a good stance.
Yeah, absolutely.
To just mitigate that fatigue factor.
Do you know what the weight difference between you and Gerald are going to be, or?
Well, he asked for 210, but again, that's probably most middleweights. He's a middleweight, so that's probably what he walks around at. 210 is probably him not in great shape. If he was in great shape at 210 and lean, it'd be very difficult to make 185, I think. So 210, he's training for this for sure.
Yeah.
Is he doing an MMA camp? I have to imagine not.
Yeah, probably not.
Because is he getting paid what he gets paid for an MMA fight? No.
No shot. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. I didn't know. I thought he was a 205er. Actually, I didn't know he was a 185er.
No, yeah, he's got 27 submissions. Again, I could tell people the only reason we're doing this is because he made a joke after I lost to Sean Brady about heel hooks, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll try heel hook him.
Yeah,
set history right.
Still very, very surprised the UFC allowed this to happen with heel hooks.
Yeah, usually they don't do that shit, But
I say no.
They've softened it a bit because I know even at ADXC, Martin Vittori's match had heel hooks in, so it's like
he won, right? Like a decision or some shit.
Vittori won. Yep. But they're both him and Tariq have some good scrambles in there.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this match for Polaris goes. A couple good fights on there as well. There's obviously the Kendall fight, but there's a couple Langackers fighting as well. He's fighting Taza.
That's right. That's an interesting one. I think the winner gets Sashinsky.
Oh fuck, that's not.
Yeah, that's not a great prize.
Fuck, that's tough. Yeah, that should be a good card.
Yeah, but that's all that's coming up. It's Tuesday today.
It is Tuesday.
When we're filming this, I leave next Tuesday. We'll try and get another pod out before I leave. We'll try and film another one before I leave, but if not, when I'm in London, hopefully knock one out right then and there.
Yeah, mystery guest or solo one?
Well, look, all right, so I posted Purple, I don't even know how to say his name, Purple Aki or whatever. There's this guy that would, this big black guy that would roam the streets of England and ask to fill guys' muscles. I found out about him because of a Vice documentary. Kind of intimidating guy, but if we could find him, we could track him down. Some people said he was dead. I don't know if he's dead. That's what we want to find out, but that would be a fantastic... I'd love to film a video with him touching my muscles. It'd be a kind of a confidence boost if he thinks I have muscles.
That would be pretty funny, yeah.
All right, that's it, episode 21. Done.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to the El Segundo podcast. Don't forget, Fat Cry Jones.